Alright, so I'm gonna just be doing my homework. Let's see, the homework is on section 6.3, numbers 1 through 25, odd, and also numbers 37 through 43, all. Alright, so I haven't done this section yet. First I'm going to do the problem, and then I'm going to try to explain it if I get it. If not, then you're screwed and I'm screwed. Alright, so first, number 1. Let S be the solid obtained by rotating the region shown in the figure about the y-axis. Explain why it's awkward to use the slicing to find the volume of S. Alright, it's awkward to use the slicing to find the volume of F because slicing is outer radius minus inner radius, and you can't really do that here. So, sketch a typical approximating shell. So it would look like, alright, from 0 to 1, this is, whoops, I keep putting 0, 0 to 1, y, and then this is what they gave us here. So it would go around here, spin. Alright, so that's what we have. What is the circumference and what is the height? Alright, so the circumference is 2 pi times the radius, and the radius is the x-axis. And in the height, they already gave us the height in the problem. This is what it is. So height is equal to x times x minus 1 squared. And then we have to use this formula because, I don't know. Here we go, 2 pi x, f of x dx. Cool. So now, they gave us the a and the b. That went from 0 to 1. So 0 to 1, 2 pi x times f of x. They gave us the f of x, which was the height. Y is equal to this. So x times x minus 1 squared dx. Alright. So next, you can take out a 2 pi up in front. Still goes from 0 to 1, and then multiply these two x's, so you'd get x squared, and then FOIL out the x minus 1, which would be x squared minus 2x plus 1, I think, dx. And then you distribute, so you would get x to the 4th minus 2x cubed plus x squared dx. Cool. So this is what we have so far. And then you do find the antiderivative, which would be x to the 5th, just add a 1, 2x to the 4th over 4, plus x to the 3rd over 3, goes from 0 to 1, still being multiplied by 2 pi. Alright, so we can simplify this a little bit. This would be 1/2, so x 4th over 2 plus x cubed over 3 from 0 to 1 multiplied by 2 pi. Alright, and then you'd plug in the 1 and the 0, so if we plug in the 1 into the x's, you'd get 1/5 minus 1/2 plus 1/3, and then minus the 0. If you plug in the 0, that's just 0, so now what we have left is this. So let's put that in the calculator. 1 over 5 minus 1 over 2 plus 1 over 3 gives us 1 over 30. So it's 2 pi times 1 over 30. And then you multiply those two together and you get 2 pi over 30. And the final answer is pi over 15. Cool. Alright, so number 3, they gave us y is equal to 3 radical x, comma, y is equal to 0, and x is equal to 1. And the problem is, use the method of cylindrical shells to find the volume generated by rotating the region bounded by the given curves about the y-axis. Alright, so we're going to have to be using this formula, probably for all the problems. I haven't done all the problems yet, but let's see, 2 pi x, and then f of x, which is the height, d of x. Alright, that's the formula that we have to use for all the problems. So they gave us 1x. To find the other one, we're going to have to equal the y's to each other, so x to the 1/3 is equal to 0. Cube root both sides, cancels that out. So x is equal to 0 and 1. So now we know the a is going to be 0 and the b is going to be 1. So now this is what we have left. 2 pi x times the f of x, they gave it to us. It's x to the 1/3 dx. Alright, so we can take out a 2 pi in front. So from 0 to 1, and then multiply the x's to each other. So you add the exponents, so that would be 3 over 3 plus 1 over 3. That's x to the 4 over 3 dx. And now we find the antiderivative of that, so that's going to be x 4 over 3 plus 1, so that's 4 over 3 plus 3 over 3, that's 7 over 3, and then flip it over here. Alright, times 2 pi. So going from 0 to 1. So now we plug in the 0 and the 1. So plugging in the 1 gives you 3 over 7. Minus plugging in the 0 just gives you 0. So what we have is 6 pi when we distribute this. 6 pi over 7. And that is the final answer. We're done. And I'm not even going to bother trying to graph this because I get the graph wrong every single time. I have no idea why. I'm so sorry. 1 to 1. This is what the graph is supposed to look like, though. It's supposed to go like that, and then, whoops, it's supposed to meet at 1 comma 1. So, and then there's supposed to be a cylinder here. So that's what it's supposed to look like. I have no idea how to get that, but anyway, we got the answer. Let's move on to the number 5. Alright, so let's do number 5. So, number 5, let's see, this is what they give us. Y is equal to e to the negative x squared, comma, y is equal to 0, x is equal to 0, and x is equal to 1. And then again, we're going to have to be using the same formula. Integral a to b, 2 pi x, and f of x dx. Alright, so this time they gave us 2 x's, so we don't need to equal anything to each other or the y's to each other. So a is 0, b is 1. So we have 2 pi x, and then the f of x, they gave it to us. It's e to the negative x squared dx. And then the next thing we can do is pull out a 2 pi in front, so it'd be 0 to 1. And then multiply these two together. It would just be x e to the negative x squared dx. Okay, and now we can find the antiderivative of this. So the antiderivative of this would be, alright, right. We have to use u substitution since we have the negative x squared. So u is equal to that whole thing. Alright, so du is equal to the derivative of that, negative 2x dx, and then we have to divide both sides by a negative 2, so that would be negative 1/2 du is equal to x dx. Cool, so that gets replaced with u, and then we have left an x and a dx, so that gets replaced with this whole thing here. So times negative 1/2 du, and then we still have this stuff over here. So this is what we have so far. And then next step would be, let's see, alright, to take out the 1/2, negative 1/2, and then the 2's cancel out, so let me rewrite that over here. So 2 pi times the negative 1/2 over here. Alright, still going from 0 to 1, and then e to the u du. Alright, so these 2's cancel out, so what we have left is just negative pi out here. 0 to 1, e to the u du, and then we have to find the antiderivative of e to the u, which is just e to the u. It's being multiplied by negative pi. Right, I forgot about this step right here. The 1, when you do the u substitution, you have to plug in these two the bounds or whatever they're called into the use substitution to get our new ones. We have to do that. I'm not sure why, but we do. Alright, so let's see. If we plug in the 1 into that, that's just going to give us -1. If we plug in a 0 into that, that's just going to give us 0. So these are our new bounds from -1 to 0. And then, now we plug this in. Oh wait, first, before we do that, we have to plug in the u back again. So it'd be e to the -x squared, and then from 0 to -1. Alright, now we can plug in the -1, which would be -1 multiplied would be 1, -1, so it would be 1 over e times -pi, and then you subtract it by plugging in the 0, which would be 0 squared is just 0. Alright, 0, so that would just be 1 times -pi, so -pi here. Alright, so now we distribute the -pi into here, so it would be -pi over e plus pi, and then they both have something. You can probably just leave it like this, but the answer in the book, I think, is they just pull out a pi up in front, so it would be 1 minus, and then what we have left here is 1 over e, and that is the final answer. This is the problem that we have to do for number 7. This is what they give us. Y is equal to x squared. Y is equal to 6x minus 2x squared. Alright, and then it'll give us, alright, so first we have to use this formula again, a to b, 2 pi x f of x and d of x times d of x. Alright, so since they don't give you any x's, and that's what your a and b are supposed to be, you have to equal the y's to each other. So x squared is equal to 6x minus 2x squared. Alright, so you subtract everything onto this side, so that would be x squared plus 2x squared. That gives us 3 of these x squareds minus 6x is equal to 0, and then we can take out a 3x, so what we have left is x minus 2 is equal to 0. So now we have 3x is equal to 0, and x minus 2 is equal to 0, so the 3x turns into an x, and you subtract, or you add the 2 onto this side. So so now we have the upper and lower bounds. So it would be 0 and 2. Alright, so now we know our a and b, that's 0 and 2, and then we have 2 pi x, and then the f of x. Now we're going to have to graph this part. Alright, and now we have to graph it. And this time, I think I can get the right graph. I don't know if this is what you're supposed to do, but this is the only way I'm able to get the right graph. The actual right graph, because every time I've been fucking up my graphs, but this time I can actually get it. So, instead, I'm going to be flipping the negative, this side. I'm going to be making this x and be making this y, and then the same thing as this x and y. So that's what you get when you sketch this. Alright, so it's top minus bottom. And the first one that we sketched was this one. So it's going to be this minus this. So now we can plug that into the formula. So 0 to 2. Whoops, f of x dx. Oh wait, what am I doing? Alright, so let's see. 2 pi x, and then the f of x is going to be this one, we found it. This one is the top one, so 6x minus 2x minus x squared. All right, and dx. Cool. So now we have 0 to 2. That doesn't change. 2 pi x doesn't change. All right, this is what we have. Subtract that is, so negative 3x squared plus 6x dx. Cool. So let's see. Now we can distribute in the x. First, pull out the 2 pi up in front. So now distribute in the x. It's going to be negative 3x cubed plus 6x squared dx. And now we can find the antiderivative of that, which is going to give you negative 3x to the 4th over 4 plus 6x cubed over 3, all being multiplied by 2 pi, going from 0 to 2. And we can simplify the 6 and 3, but all right, let's just do that. 2 pi negative 3x 4th over 4, and then plus 2x cubed from 0 to 2. Now we plug in the 2 first. So if we plug in the 2, we get 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 3 gives you, what does that give you? 16 times 3 gives you 48. 48 over 4 is 12. And it's negative. Don't forget about the negative sign. So let's see. Then we plug in a 2 over here. That's going to be 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. So plus 16. And then minus plugging in 0 just gives you 0 over here. So then what we have left is 2 pi times what's left inside is 4. So our final answer is 8 pi. All right, so now you got to do number 9. Now this one's, is it a little bit different? Oh yeah. Before 3 to 7 was on the y-axis, and now we're focusing on the x-axis. So let's see, let's do number 9. So this is what we have. X, y is equal to 1, comma, x is equal to 0, y is equal to 1, and y is equal to 3. This is what they give us on the x-axis. So we're going to have to be using the formula, a to b, 2 pi x f of x. The x is the radius that we figured that out in the first problem. So the radius depends, it either changes to y or the x, and then the f of x was the height, like we said, and then d of x. But in this case, it's going to be d of y since it's on the x-axis. So since it's on the x-axis, basically everything in here is going to be in terms of y. So our upper and lower bounds, a and b, that's going to be, they gave us y is equal to 1, y is equal to 3, so 1 comma 3, 2 pi. And then the radius is, since it's on the x-axis, that means it's going to be y. So usually before we were putting down x, so this is the actual formula here. So it's y, and then the height is just going to be, they don't give you another number here, so we don't actually technically need a graph. So that means just divide the y onto both sides here. That would just be 1 over y. And then that's what we have to plug in for the height, the f of x, basically, dy. So now we can pull out a 2 pi up in front, still from 1 and 3, and then multiply this. So it'd be y over y, that's just equal to 1, so all you have left is dy. And you get the antiderivative of basically just 1, so what you have is y times 2 pi. It's still going from 1 to 3, so you plug in the 3 first. It's 2 pi times 3, that gives you 6 pi, minus, and then you plug in the 1, that gives you 1 times 2 pi, it's just 2 pi. So our final answer is 4 pi. And then the graph, I'm not going to do the graph, but that would be, since it's on the x-axis, that means it would be right minus left instead of top minus bottom. Top minus bottom is the y-axis. Cool. So that's the answer. So number 11, Same thing on the x-axis, and this is what they give us. Y is equal to x to the power of 3 over 2, comma, y is equal to 8, and x is equal to 0 on the x-axis. Cool. So, got to write down the formula. A to b 2 pi r h dx. But since we're focusing on the x-axis, that means this is going to be dy. And then the r is 2 pi. The r is going to be y. So now this is our new formula. Cool. Let's see. Since it's on the x-axis, everything in here is going to be in y's. So we found the a or the b. One of them is an 8, and then let's see. We're gonna have to move that onto this side. So the 3's over 2 cancels out over here. So that means x is equal to y, 2 over 3. Now you have two x's, so we equal them to each other. So that's going to be y to the power of 2 over 3 is equal to 0. So then that just gives you 0. So now we found our two y's. It's 0 and 8. So a is going to be 0 and b is going to be 8. So this is what we have left. And now we're going to find the height. So let's see. We already found it right here. And then you equal the x's to each other. And wait. Alright. So now we're going to find the height. And we have two x's. One's equal to y, 2 over 3. One's equal to 0. That's just 0. So we just focus on this. And this is our height, 2 over 3. We had to find it in terms of y. So, yeah. Dy. Move out the 2 pi in front. So, still from 0 to 8. And then multiply the y's to each other. That's going to give you 3 over 3 plus 2 over 3. That's 5 over 3. Alright, dy. And then we get the antiderivative of that. So, plus 1, it'd be 3 over 3, it'd be 8 over 3, and then you flip this part, so it'd be 3 over 8 here, and then you multiply it by 2 pi, still going from 0 to 8, and then we can simplify here. The 2's cancel out, so all we really have left is 3y, 8 over 3 over 4, so this is what we have to plug in. Alright, so plugging in the 8, what does that give us? If we plug in an 8, that gives us 192. So we have 192 pi, and then minus 0, that's just going to give you 0. So the final answer is 192 pi. Alright, so now we have to do number 13. So, number 13. This is what they gave us. X is equal to 1 plus y minus 2 squared, comma, x is equal to 2. And it's all on the x-axis. That's important. So, first we have to write down the formula. A to b, 2 pi r h dx is the formula. And then ab, 2 pi. The radius is y, since it's on the x-axis, so that's going to be y h dx. We're focusing on y's, all y's, since it's on the x-axis. So this is our new formula. This is what we're going to use, and then we're going to have to equal the x's to each other to get the y's, a and b. So let's do that. 1 plus y minus 2 squared is equal to 2. And then we can subtract the 2 onto this side, so that means it would be negative 1. It would be y minus 2 squared minus 1 is equal to 0. And then we gotta FOIL this out, so it's gonna be y minus 2 multiplied by y minus 2. That's going to give us y squared minus 2y plus 4. So what we have in here, it's going to be y squared minus 4y plus 4 minus 1 is equal to 0. And then the 4 and the minus 1 add together to be plus 3. So now we can do this y. So it's going to be 3 and 1 here. You add together to equal negative 4, multiply together to equal 3. So these are our y's, 1 and 3. So now we can plug that in. So the a is going to be 1 and the b is going to be 3. So we have the 2 pi in here, y, and then we have to multiply it by h. So the height. And this time they give us 2 equations, and the other one isn't 0, so we're going to have to graph this. Over here. All right, so this is what we have. This is what we should have, not this. All right, so we have this line and this line was the 2, so it's going to be right minus left. So this one comes first. This is the outer one. This is the inner one. So it's going to be 2 minus this equation over here, y minus 2 squared, y minus squared, dy. All right, dy. So now, let's see, 1 to 3, y, 2 minus 1. All right, so now we can add the 1 onto the 4, so that gives us y. So it's going to be y squared minus 4y plus 5. All right, dy. So now you can distribute in the negative. So it's going to be negative y squared plus 4y minus 5. And then, let's see, distributed. So now it's 2 plus all of this. So now we can add in the 2 over here. That's just going to give us plus 4y minus 3. That's what it's going to give us. And then we still have a y out here that we need to distribute. All right, so this is what we have so far. So let's distribute in the y. That's going to give us negative y cubed plus 4y squared minus 3y dy. Cool. So now we got to find the antiderivative of this, and that gives us negative y to the power of 4 over 4 plus 4y cubed over 3 minus 3y squared over 2, still being multiplied by 2 pi dy. Oh, whoops, never mind, not dy. Now it's from 1 to 3. All right, so now we plug it in. All right, so 2 pi, let's see, plugging in the 3, 9 times 9 is 81 over 4. Can't be simplified, and then plug in a 3 over here. 9 times 3 is 27. 27 times 4 is times 4, 108, right? Divided by 3, that gives you plus 36. And then plug in a 3 here. That's going to be 9 times 3, 27 over 2. Can't simplify, so 27 over 2. And then minus 2 pi. Minus 2 pi. And then over here, now we're plugging in a 1, so we get negative 1 over 4 plus 4 over 3 minus 3 over 2. Cool. And now they both have 2 pi's, so let's just take out a 2 pi in front. So this is what we actually have, 81 over 4 plus 36 minus 27 over 2. And then we distribute in the negative, so that's going to be plus 1 over 4 minus 4 over 3 plus 3 over 2. So now we have to calculate all of this. So let's see, negative 81 over 4 plus 36 gives us 63 over 4, all right, minus 27 over 2 gives us 9 over 4, plus 1 over 4 gives us 5 over 2, minus 4 over 3, and then plus 3 over 2. So this gives us 8 over 3. 8 over 3 times 2 pi. So our final answer, once you distribute in the 2 pi, it's going to be 16 pi over 3, and that is our final answer. Finally. All right, let's move on to number 15. I do not get all of number 15, so I'm not going to be able to graph this, and I'm not going to be able to understand the graph because I've been trying for half an hour trying to figure it out, and I cannot figure it out. So, alright, first, let's see the formula. AB to pi r h dx. Alright, so they give you one of the x's, so you have to equal these two y's to each other over here. And 1/3. Boom, this cancels out. So that means it would be 2. So now we found our x's, so that's, the a's and the b's. It's going to be from 0 to 2, and then we still have the 2 pi, and then our h, and then it's dx. Then you have to graph to figure out the radius and the height, but yeah, I have no idea how to graph. I am sorry. I've been looking at it for like half an hour. So, so now time for the easy steps. So this is what we have after we figure out the graph, which I wasn't able to figure out. Boom, dx. And then we FOIL, so it'd be 24 minus 3x cubed minus 8x plus x to the 4th dx. Whoops, dx, yeah. And then you pull out the 2 pi up in front. So now you're going to get the antiderivative of all of this. It's going to be 24x minus 3x to the 4th over 4 minus 8x squared over 2 plus x to the 5th over 5. From 0 to 2, all being multiplied by 2 pi. So let me just rewrite this one more time. 2 pi, 24x minus 3, x to the 4th over 4. And then this is the part that simplifies, x to the x4 squared plus x to the 5th over 5. Alright, from 0 to 2, so we plug in the 2 first. 24 times 2 is 48. So 48, and then 2. 4 times 4 is 16, times 3 gives us 48. 48 divided by 4 gives us 12, so minus 12. And then minus 4 times 4 is 16. 2 times 2, 4. 4 times 4 is 16, times 2 is 32, plus 32 over 5 minus, and then 0, plugging in 0, that just gives us 0. So 48 minus 12 gives us, 48 minus 12 is 36, minus 16 gives us 30, 20. 20 plus 32 over 5. So 20 plus 32 over 5 gives us 2 over 5, 132 over 5. So we're still multiplying it by 2 pi. So 132 over 5 times 2 is 264. So the final answer is 264 pi over 5. And that's how you do the problem, except for the graph part, which is the most important part that I do not understand how to do. So if anyone knows how to do that, please help me out. All right, so let's do number 17. This is the problem for number 17. Y is equal to 4x minus x squared, comma, y is equal to 3. And about x is equal to 1. So let's use the formula. So the formula is AB 2 pi RH dx. And we know A or B, one of them, they gave it to us 3. Or, wait, hold on. No, they don't. We're going to have to equal the y's to each other. So 4x minus x squared is equal to 3. So then you subtract the 3 onto this side. And now we can move this out in front. Take out a negative, so it's going to be minus 4x plus 3. Just rearranging it. So now you can do this, there's a 3 and a 1 being multiplied, add them together to equal negative 4. Cool, so that means we get a 1 and a 3, so that's our A and our B. So our A is 1, B is 3, 2 pi, and then the radius and the height. I don't really know how to graph it. This graphing for this, like, for this little part here really confuses me. Alright, so the radius is x minus 1, and the height is 4x minus x squared minus 3 dx, and I'm trying to figure out how to do it without the graph, because the graph really confuses me. I don't understand the graph at all. So this, it looks like maybe they just subtracted the 1 onto this side, and then they called this the radius, and then they equaled these two to each other, and they subtracted the 3 onto that side. So maybe that's how they got the height, and then the radius was always what we got over here, and the height was always what we got over here. Well, according to the last two problems, so this is what I'm assuming. So that's what I'm going to do on the test. Cool. I'm not going to graph it. For crap. Alright, so let's see. Once you get that, you can take out a 2 pi, add in front, 1 a 3, and then you distribute. So it would be 4x squared minus x cubed minus 3x minus 4x plus x squared plus 3 dx. Alright, cool. So then now we can find the antiderivatives. I'm just going to rewrite what I had. So 1 and 3, 4x squared minus x cubed minus 3x minus 4x plus x squared plus 3 dx. Alright, so I was being so dumb. I didn't combine any like terms here. So negative x3, so let's see, what can we combine? The x squareds. What does that equal? 5x squared. Alright, so we got that out of the way, this out of the way, and now we can combine those. So minus 7x and then plus 3. There we go, dx, and then this is what we find the antiderivative of. So let's see. Negative x to the 4th over 4 plus 5x to the 3rd over 3 minus 7x squared over 2 plus 3x, all being multiplied by 2 pi from 1 to 3. So now let's plug in the 3. Let's put it over here so we have room. Let's see, plugging in the 3, that's going to give us 3 times 3. 9 times 9 is 81, so negative 81 over 4, and then plugging in the 3 here is going to give us 9 times 3 is 27. 27 times 5 is going to give us 135, divided by 3 is just 45. So it's plus 45, and then plugging the 3 into here is going to give us 9 times 7 is 63, right? 9 times 7 is 63 divided by 2. Alright, so minus 63 over 2. And then plugging the 3 here is going to give us 9. So then minus 2 pi. And now we just plug in the 1. So it's going to be 1 over 4 plus 5 over 3 minus 7 over 2 plus 3. Alright, and let's take out the 2 pi because it's quite a bit easier like that. So let's see. 81 over 4 plus 45 minus 63 over 2 plus 9, and then we distribute in the negative here, so it'd be plus 1 over 4 minus 5 over 3 plus 7 over 2 minus 3. So this is what we have so far. So let's combine the 9, 45, and 3. What does that give us? That gives us 54 minus 3 is 51. So 51 minus 81 over 4 minus 63 over 2 plus 1 over 4. Oh, wow. Minus 5 over 3 plus 7 over 2. That's a lot. All right, all still being multiplied by 2 pi. So then, let's see. Let's combine the 4s. So that's going to be 51 minus 80 over 4. Boom. Cancel those out. And then the 2s, let's see. 63 minus 7. So that's going to be plus, wait. 63 minus 7. All right, 56. It's going to be negative 56 over 2 minus 5 over 3. So now this is what we have being multiplied by the 2 pi. So let's see, 80 divided by 4 just gives us 20 minus 51. And this stuff here, 51 minus 20 just gives us 31. And then, let's see, 56 divided by 2 gives us 28. So minus 28 minus 5 over 3. So minus 28. This part here gives us 31 minus 28 gives us 3 minus 5 over 3. So 3 minus 5 over 3 gives us 4 over 3. Still being multiplied by the 2 pi. So that gives us 8 pi over 3, and that is our final answer. All right, let's see if I'm able to do the next problem with the same method that I did without graphing it, which every teacher would probably say it's wrong. But I'm only doing that because I have no idea how to graph this. It's really confusing, so let's see. Let's move on to number 19. So the problem to number 19 is x is equal to 2y squared, comma, y greater than or equal to 0, comma, x is equal to 2, about y is equal to 2. All right, cool. Wow, my method worked. This is a new discovery here. So let's see. We're gonna use this formula again, RH dx. All right, so we're gonna equal the x's to each other to get the y, since it's on the y part. All right, so let's see. 2y squared minus 2 is equal to 0. Boom, just equaling the x's to each other. So now we can take out a 2 here. So y squared minus 1 is equal to 0. So we get x is equal to negative 1 and 1. Those are our upper and lower bands, A and B. So let's see. The A is negative 1, the B is 1. So now we have 2 pi. All right, this was my method last time. Just subtract this onto this side, and then the same thing over here, subtract this, equal these to each other, and then subtract it to the other side, so it'd be like this. But that was with an x, and this time it's with a y, so I'm guessing it's backwards. So now we would subtract the y onto this side, so the radius would be 2 minus y. So this is my little method of not having to graph it, because I don't understand the graph, so I try to figure out another way around it. And hey, look, I did. Awesome. Wow. So let's see. So now we equal these two to each other. 2y squared is equal to 2, and then we'll subtract the 2y squared onto this side since it's y. I don't know, it's just my weird little method that I figured out. 2y squared. All right, cool. So the radius is 2 minus y, and then the height would be this over here, 2 minus 2y squared dy. All right, since we're focusing on the y. And let me see if I did that right. All right, that's exactly right. Wow, that's awesome. Except one little thing. This is supposed to be a 0. Why is that a 0, huh? Oh, wait. It's because of this. y is greater than equal to 0. Y is greater than equal to 0, so that means we can't have a negative 1. It has to be greater than 0, so the lowest is 0. So it goes from 0 to 1. Boom. So back up to this step. 0 to 1, 2 pi. So this is what we got from the very beginning. Alright? 2y squared dy. Alright, so now I'm going to distribute. So let's distribute here. You'd get 4 minus 4y squared minus 2y plus 2y cubed. And then we can take out a 2 because they all have a 2 in common, so let's do that. 2 minus 2y squared minus y plus y cubed dy. Cool. And this 2 is being multiplied by this 2 pi. So that would be a 4 pi, and let's move that out in front. So 4 pi, 0 and 1 here. And then let's just rearrange this to make it easier to see. Y cubed minus 2y squared minus y plus 2 dy. Cool. So now let's get the antiderivative of this. It's going to be y to the 4th over 4 minus 2y cubed over 3 minus y squared over 2 plus 2y. Awesome. From 0 to 1, and it's still being multiplied by 4 pi. Alright, so now let's plug in the 1 into all of this. That would be 1 over 4 minus, this would be 1 over 4 minus 2 over 3 minus 1/2 plus 2. Awesome. And then minus 4 pi times, all plugging in 0, that would just give you 0. So boom, that's out of there. So let's see, let's calculate this. 1 over 4 minus 2 over 3 minus 1/2 plus 2, and that gives us 13 over 12, still being multiplied by 4 pi. So let's see, let's multiply the 4 and the 13, and that is 52 divided by 12. That would be 13 over 3, and then the pi is there. So boom, this is the final answer for whatever problem we just did. So now we're moving to number 21. Cool. So 21, what they gave us was y is equal to x e to the negative x, comma, y is equal to 0, comma, x is equal to 2, about the y-axis. And we're going to be using this same formula again. E to b pi, 2 pi, whoops, I keep thinking pi r squared. That was the other section. All right, 2 pi r, radius, height, dx. Cool. So now they gave us one of these, one of the bounds, a, b. It's probably b. The x is equal to 2, and we're gonna have to figure that out by we're gonna have to figure out the other one by equaling the two y's to each other. All right. I don't know how to solve this. I don't even know if you're allowed to do this, but who cares? 0 divided by e. All right, so x is just equal to 0. So now we have a is equal to 0 and b is 2. And then we still have the 2 pi. And then the radius, height, dx, since we're back on these other problems where it's just x-axis and y-axis instead of the about x equals -1 or y equals 5, you know. Now we can replace the r with whatever. This is the radius, so it's on the y-axis, so that means it's the x. So we're focusing on this, so that means this is dx, and then it's being multiplied by the height, and then this is the height. This is 0, and this was the bounds stuff, so this is all we have left. Cool. -x, and that's the answer for number 21A. Alright, so let's move on to 21B. Alright, so moving on to 21B, this is what we got for our answer last time. And I really am not sure how to do this problem, but you're supposed to do this volume is equal to, or wait, hold on. It's this 2 pi 0 to 2 x squared over ex dx is equal to 2 times 2 minus 10 over e squared times pi, and that is 4.063, and that's the answer. I'm not really sure how to do that. I am sorry, so if anyone knows, please help me out on that, because I don't get it. Alright, let's do number 23. 23a now. This is the problem that they give us for 23. 23 is y is equal to cos of 4x comma y is equal to negative cos 4x comma negative pi over 2 is less than equal to x less than equal to pi over 2 and about x is equal to pi. And the formula that we're going to be using, again, AB, 2 pi radius times height dx. Alright, so they give us the a and the b, negative pi over 2 and pi over 2, so let's plug that in, pi over 2 and negative pi over 2. Alright, so then 2 pi, and then we have the radius. So first, the radius and the height, and it's on dx since we're focusing on the x, about x. Boom, cool. So let's see, I'm not even gonna try to graph this because it's insanely complicated, just like these other problems that I was not able to do, but I kind of did some weird shortcut, and it sort of works here, but at the same time, not really. Slightly off. Alright, so let's see. You equal the y's to each other. So cos 4x is equal to 0, and then we can combine the coses. So it would be 2 cos of 4x. 2 cos of x to the 4th. Yeah, so this one for sure is right. That's the height. And then the radius, how I said before, if it was x, you would subtract the pi onto this side, but this time you subtract the x onto the pi onto this side. So this is the answer for number 23a, and this part, it kind of confuses me, and I feel like the only way to find this is if you graph this, but for fuck's sake, look at this graph. This is insane. There's no way I can graph that. No way in hell. I've been trying for so long on the other problems that I couldn't figure out, so there's no way I'm going to be able to figure out that. Anyway, this is the answer. Now let's move on to 23b. All we have to do is calculate it. Alright, so 23b, again, I have no idea how to do, but this is the answer. 46.509. That's the answer, and I'm not really sure how to get this. Are we integrating this? Is that how we get this? I don't understand, and if we do, I don't remember how to integrate this. Number 25, this is the problem, so let's write this down. X is equal to radical sine y comma 0 y pi comma x is equal to 0 and about y is equal to 4. And let's not forget this formula, AB 2 pi RH dx. Alright, and then they gave you the a and the b, so that's going to be right here from 0 to pi, and then 2 pi radius height, and then the dx, it's in terms of x here, y, so it's going to be dy. Now all we got to figure out is the radius and the height. So okay, this I'm not going to even attempt to graph this. It's impossible for me to graph it. I've tried it so many times on some other problems. So I'm just going to use my little shortcut, and it completely works. Since it's a y, subtract the y onto this side over here. So that's going to be 0. Boom. And then over here you would equal the x's to each other, and then subtract this number onto that side. But since it's just a 0, the height is just going to be sine of y. So h is equal to sine of y, and then the radius is equal to 4 minus y. So let's plug it in. So we get 2 pi, radius 4 minus y, and then the height, radical sine of y dy. So this is the answer for number 25, 25A. Cool, so now let's move on to 25B, and I'm probably not even going to attempt to figure this out because I've been trying to figure this out, and I'm not able to figure out part B on any of these problems. But again, this is what we have right here, and this, literally when I look it up online, they skip all these steps. This is the answer. This is what we get. It's approximately 36.57. Alright, so this is the answer. So let's move on now to 37. This one I am totally able to do. Now we're just going back to the problems that we were doing, like from 1 to 9. Not that bad. Alright, so 37. Y is equal to negative, alright, negative x squared plus 6x minus 8, comma, y is equal to 0, colon, about y axis. Alright, so let's not forget about our formula. So AB, 2 pi radius height dx. Alright, so they don't give us our a and b. They don't give us any x's, so we're going to have to equal the y's to each other. 6x minus 8 is equal to 0. That's just 0. It doesn't matter. So let's take out a negative here and divide it onto the other side. So that just basically disappears. So that's going to be minus 6x plus 8. And now you can do this Xbox thing, or whatever it's called. 4, 2, so multiplied to equal that, add to equal that. Alright, cool. So x is equal to 2 comma 4. So boom, we found our bound. So let's see. 2 to 4, 2 pi. The radius is, alright, the radius is, since it's on the x-axis, that means it's, since it's on the y-axis, it's x. So, and then the height is this. The height is that, yep. Plus 6x minus 8 dx, and it's an x since it's on the y-axis, plus everything in here is in terms of x. So it's dx. Same with this. We found these two, and those were our x's, so that means this, the r, the radius, has to be an x. That's how I figure it out. Anyway, let's move out the 2 pi in front. So let's see, 2 to 4. Now let's distribute the x. It's going to be negative x cubed plus 6x squared minus 8x dx. And now let's get the antiderivative of this. It's going to be negative x to the 4th over 4 plus the antiderivative of this is going to be 6x cubed over 3. So if you simplify it, it's going to be 2x cubed. Same with this, 8x squared over 2. And if you simplify it, it's going to be 4x squared. And then it's still all being multiplied by 2 pi. And it's going from 2 to 4. So now let's plug in 4. If you plug in 4, 16 times 16, what is that, 256? Yep. 256 divided by 4 is 64, so this is negative 64. And then multiply the 4 in there. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 4 is 64, right? 64 times 2, 128, cool, plus 128 and then minus 4 times 4, 16. 16 times 4 is 64. Awesome. So this is going to be all 2 pi. We'll just take out the 2 pi from everything here. Alright, so next is, boom, plug in the 2. That's going to be 4 times 4 is 16. 16 divided by 4, negative 4. Plug in the 2 there. That's going to be 8 times 2 is 16 minus, plug in the 2. 4 times 4 is 16 minus 16. Cool. So then this is what we have now. 2 pi. Boom, in here it's going to be the 64 add together to be negative 128, plus we have 128, and then the 16s here cancel out since there's negative 16 and positive 16, so this negative 4, this negative gets distributed in here, so it's just a positive 4, and then these cancel out, so now all we have left is an 8 pi, and that is the answer. Cool. Alright, so let's do number 39 now. I already did it once, but I messed up. Alright, so let's see. This is the problem. Y squared minus x squared is equal to 1, comma, y is equal to 2 on about the x-axis. And when I looked this up online, it doesn't give me the other method. They use they don't use the shell method, so I'm not going to use the shell method. I'm going to use the method from the last section, if that's cool with y'all. Let's see, AB, this was the method from the last section. It was pi r squared dx. Alright, so to find the A and B, usually you equal this to each other, but this is like a weird problem, so I'm guessing you have to plug in the 2 into the y. Y is equal to 2, plug that in over here, so 2 squared minus x squared is equal to 1. So now you have 4 minus x squared is equal to 1. So now you can subtract the 4 onto the other side, so you're going to get negative 3, and then you divide the negatives both sides, so that just cancels, so it's just going to be x is equal to radical 3. Got a radical both sides, alright, so that's how you get it, plus minus radical 3. So now we have our upper and lower bounds, so now we can plug in some stuff. So the A is going to be negative radical 3, and the B is going to be positive radical 3. And then the pi, let's just take out the pi up in front. And then the r squared, the only way to figure that out is to, you have to graph it. That's how you figure it out. And to graph it, we're going to find everything. We got to get y by itself for the first equation. So it's just going to be y is equal to x squared plus 1. It's going to be radical of that. And then you plug in points there. And then over here, you plug in points over here. Except I already did it over here. And this is what I got. This was my graph. Since it's, let's see, how do I say this? I'm not even sure if I'm right, but this is what I think. Normally you would put a line right here, but since we're doing it in terms of dx, you know, that's what we have over here. We have it in dx form. So dx is top minus bottom, not right minus left. That's what we're doing. So we have to sort of like flip this, I guess. So make this, instead of putting this over here, you got to put it up here. You know, so, alright, I don't know how to explain it anymore. And then this is what I got when I plugged this in. Alright? So it's going to be top minus bottom. So this is the top one, and then the bottom one is this one. So it's going to be this minus this. So you plug that into the formula, and that's going to give you, let's see, what does that give you? Pi, you took out the pi up front, so it's going to be 2 squared minus, and then it's going to be radical x squared plus 1 squared dx. Cool. So now we get 4 minus, and then that just goes away. The square root and the squared. Alright, so you get x squared plus 1. And don't forget about these parentheses, because I've been forgetting it the past 2 times, and I totally screwed everything up because you distribute the negative into the 1. and that's really easy to mess up on. All right, so let's see. What we have so far is 4 minus x squared minus 1. There we go. So that means you get negative x squared plus 3. And this is what we have to integrate. Pi is out here. Cool. So now we get the antiderivative of this, and that's going to be negative x cubed over 3 plus 3x, still being multiplied by pi, and it's going from, all right, this is another thing that sort of confused me. We got to change this to 0. This stays the same. So negative radical 3 goes to 0, and because you do that, you have to multiply everything out here by 2, because I'm not really sure why we did that, but if we do that, it goes, this is the shaded region, negative radical 3 going all the way over here to radical 3, and if we go from 0 to radical 3, there's still another extra part, so we multiply this by 2 to get the whole thing, which is why you multiply it by 2 over here, but I don't even know why we did that in the first place, and I'm not sure if it'll work out if you keep this as a negative radical 3. Would it? Please comment, let me know, because I'm not going to try that out and waste my time. Cool, so now you plug in the radical 3, and what do you get when you plug in the radical 3? Let's see, 2 pi. We get negative radical 3 plus 3 radical 3, and then we plug in a 0, so it's minus, but that's just going to be 0, so that doesn't even really matter. So let's see, 2 pi times, and now, let's see, now we have 2 radical 3, so then we multiply this. 2 times 2 is 4, so it's 4 pi radical 3, or I guess this is how you're supposed to write it, 4, and move the pi over here. That's how everyone else has it. Alright, so this is your answer. Alright, so let's do number 39 now. I already did it once, but I messed up. Alright, so let's see. This is the problem. Y squared minus x squared is equal to 1, comma, y is equal to 2 on about the x-axis. And when I looked this up online, it doesn't give me the other method. They use they don't use the shell method, so I'm not going to use the shell method. I'm going to use the method from the last section, if that's cool with y'all. Let's see, AB. This was the method from the last section. It was pi r squared dx. All right, so to find the a and b, usually you equal this to each other, but this is like a weird problem. So I'm guessing you have to plug in the 2 into the y. Y is equal to 2, plug that in over here. So 2 squared minus x squared is equal to 1. So now you have 4 minus x squared is equal to 1. So now you can subtract the 4 onto the other side. So you're going to get negative 3. And then you divide the negatives both sides, so that just cancels. So it's just going to be x is equal to radical 3. Got a radical both sides. All right, so that's how you get it, plus minus radical 3. So now we have our upper and lower bounds, so now we can plug in some stuff. So the a is going to be negative radical 3, and the b is going to be positive radical 3. And then the pi, let's just take out the pi up in front. And then the r squared, the only way to figure that out is to, you have to graph it. That's how you figure it out. And to graph it, we're going to find everything. We got to get y by itself for the first equation. So it's just going to be y is equal to x squared plus 1. It's going to be radical of that. And then you plug in points there. And then over here, you plug in points over here. Except I already did it over here. And this is what I got. This was my graph. Since it's, let's see, how do I say this? I'm not even sure if I'm right, but this is what I think. Normally you would put a line right here, but since we're doing it in terms of dx, you know, it's So what we have over here, we have it in dx form. So dx is top minus bottom, not right minus left. That's what we're doing. So we have to sort of like flip this, I guess. So make this, instead of putting this over here, you got to put it up here. You know, so, all right, I don't know how to explain it anymore. And then this is what I got when I plugged this in, right? So it's going to be top minus bottom. So this is the top one, and then the bottom one is this one. So it's going to be this minus this. So you plug that into the formula, and that's going to give you, let's see, what does that give you? Pi, you took out the pi up front, so it's going to be 2 squared minus, and then it's going to be radical x squared plus 1 squared dx. Cool. So now we get 4 minus, and then that just goes away. The square root and the squared. All right, so you get x squared plus 1. And don't forget about these parentheses, because I've been forgetting it the past 2 times, and I totally screwed everything up because you distribute the negative into the 1. And that's really easy to mess up on. All right, so let's see. What we have so far is 4 minus x squared minus 1. There we go. So that means you get negative x squared plus 3. And this is what we have to integrate. Pi is out here. Cool. So now we get the antiderivative of this, and that's going to be negative x cubed over 3 plus 3x, still being multiplied by pi, and it's going from, all right, this is another thing that sort of confused me. We got to change this to 0. This stays the same. So negative radical 3 goes to 0, and because you do that, you have to multiply everything out here by 2, because I'm not really sure why we did that. But if we do that, it goes, this is the shaded region, negative radical 3 going all the way over here to radical 3. And if we go from 0 to radical 3, there's still another extra part. So we multiply this by 2 to get the whole thing, which is why you multiply it by 2 over here. But I don't even know why we did that in the first place. And I'm not sure if it'll work out if you keep this as a negative radical 3. Would it? Please comment, let me know, because I'm not going to try that out and waste my time. Cool, so now you plug in the radical 3, and what do you get when you plug in the radical 3? Let's see, 2 pi. We get negative radical 3 plus 3 radical 3, and then we plug in a 0, so it's minus, but that's just going to be 0, so that doesn't even really matter. So let's see, 2 pi times, and now let's see, now we have 2 radical 3, so then we multiply this. 2 times 2 is 4, so it's 4 pi radical 3, or I guess this is how you're supposed to write it, 4, and move the pi over here. That's how everyone else has it. Alright, so this is your answer. Let's move on to number 41. And 41, I've looked at it for like half an hour, and I seriously do not understand what the shit is going on. So, you're supposed to graph it, and I try to graph it, and I only get like half of a circle. But when you graph it, this is what it's supposed to look like. -1 to 1, and then up to 2. So it's supposed to be like that, and that's supposed to be like a circle. So let's see. Alright, so let's write down the problem. 41 is x squared plus y minus 1 squared is equal to 1 about the y-axis. And then the formula that we have to use, AB, 2 pi radius times height dx. Alright, so the first thing we get is the radius well, the radius, of course, is x. In terms of dx. All right, so this is what it's supposed to look like. And 2 pi times the radius. Times the radius was just x. And times the height is 2 radical 1 minus x squared dx. So that's what you're supposed to get. First of all, I have no idea how we get from 0, how we get 0 and how we get 1. This, I don't get how we get that either. So let's see. After this, if you get this, which I don't, if someone knows how to do this, please explain it to me in the comments section. So let's see, 2x, just distributing in the x, so 1 minus x squared dx. 0 to 1, we can pull out a 2, so that would be 4 pi, 0 to 1 x, 1 minus x squared dx. You have to do u substitution, so u is equal to 1 minus x squared. So du is equal to negative 2x dx. And then you gotta divide both sides by negative 2, so that would be negative 1/2 du is equal to x dx. Alright, so 4 pi from 0 to 1. Alright, so now we can plug this in, so this is just going to be radical u, same as u to the 1/2, and then x and dx, that's going to be multiplied by negative 1/2 du. And then we can pull out the negative 1/2 out in front, so that's going to be negative 4 pi over 2, 0 to 1, u to the 1/2 now, du. So let's see, now we got to get the antiderivative, which is u to the 3 over 2, right? 2 over 2, 3 over 3, and then you flip it down here. Alright, and then goes from 0 to 1, and then this is being multiplied by, and the 2's cancel out here, so all we really get here is negative 2 pi. Okay, I see. The 1 and the 0, I forgot, you have to plug that back into the u substitution, so let's see. 1 squared, 1 minus 1 is 0, so boom, that's 0, and then plugging in 0, that would be 1 minus 0, that would just be 1. So this turns to 1. Plug in the 0, that would be negative 2 pi times, that's just 0, so minus negative 2, so that turns into a positive, and then you plug in the 1, so that would be 2 over 3. So it was basically the opposite of what I did. So we had one too many negatives, so when you multiply it, you get 4 pi over 3, and that's the answer. Except I really have no idea how to get this. I was looking at it for like half an hour trying to figure out how to do this, and I can't, so please help me out. Alright, yeah. I'm gonna do the problem, but I'm not gonna be able to explain it at all. I have no idea how to do this either. I am so sorry. So this is the problem. 43 x is equal to. These problems are just insanely difficult now for me. I cannot figure it out. I've tried just staring at it, trying to figure out how to do this. And this one and the last one, just no go for me. So we're gonna have to use this formula. AB 2 pi radius times height dx. And then once you get that, the A is 0, the B is 3 if you do it right, and then the radius is y plus 2 squared, and then the height is y squared minus 2y plus 2 squared, and you take out a pi out here. Alright, so I really don't know how to do this, alright? Don't ask me how to do this. Explain to me how to do this in the comments if anyone knows how to do this, because this shit is confusing. Alright, negative plus 4y cubed minus 7. So this is what you're supposed to get. And then this is what you get when you get the antiderivative. It's 5th over 5 plus y to the 4th minus 7 over 3y cubed plus 6y squared from 0 to 3. Cool. Alright, and then what you have to do next is just plug it in. So when you plug it in, alright, so this is what it's supposed to look like. 3 to the 5th over 5 plus 3 to the 4th minus 7 over 3 times 3 to the power of 3 plus 6 times 3 to the power of 2, and then plugging in 0, that just gives you 0. So this is the final answer, 117 pi over 5. Except I have no idea how to do this. Please explain to me how to do this. Wow, this is confusing.